Hello, everybody. Welcome to Livzenastrology podcast. My name is Carmela Yvette. I'm your host for this channel, and I am so honored and grateful to have you all here in this beautiful space with this beautiful being. I am so honored to know this woman for many, many years now. Please say hello to Elasa Tina-Marie Tiernan. I want to give a little bit of a descriptor of who this beautiful being is and what we'll be discussing today. Elasa is the Akashic Soul Pro App creator. She's currently opened up an existing location as R3 Miracles Quantum Healing Center and Store. She's here to assist those remembering who they are as an eternal living soul, offering soul sessions and courses to give clients guide for awakening back to the eternal presence and tools to navigate the new world based on love. She's also focused on researching the quantum mechanics of the soul and different longitudinal waves technologies that can assist a soulful ensouling. Currently at the center, they are conducting research on Theraphi Plasma MedBed, the Bemer Therapy Pulse Electromagnetic Frequencies, Multiwave Oscillator, grounding, Tensor rings, and stem cell patches. Recently, she published 123 Quantum Healing books. She's published 123 Quantum Healing books and self-help journals and looking to create more as research provides data. She's additionally working with children groups to facilitate practical practices and activities for children to know the soul that they are and further offer space for their maintained ensoulment. And so I just want to take a moment to thank you so much, Elasa, for being here in the channel. And I'm excited to share time and space and to really get to know more about not only what you do, who you are, but today's topic is about the Akashic records and astrology. But before we get into how you started working with the Akashic records, can you go a little bit into your background? How did you start on this path of where you are now? Because I know you've been doing this for quite a while. So yeah, if you can share your
Yeah,
journey to what got you here. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you for having me. This is such a pleasure and honor to be with you, reflecting with you, especially after some time or seemingly time. Okay, so what came to me when you said, what got me here, I think about being in college and studying to be a doctor and then shifting that to a master's in occupational therapy because I didn't want to stay there too long. I was disenchanted or dissatisfied with Western medicine, and I actually started a non-for-profit called Find Ease with a bunch of the master's students to show people that we really just needed to be doing yoga and meditating, and help people with disease consciousness to come out of dis-ease and find ease. So that led to me telling my family that I wasn't going to be using the master's occupational therapy degree on the day of graduation, and that actually I was going to open up a healing center and just do non-for-profit work. And they applauded. They were like, "Yay, you figured it out." And I'm like, "Okay, so you guys already knew this." And my father was like, "Yeah, we totally knew this. And I'll give you a house in Ozona. You can go ahead and, right away, just go ahead and open up shop and start working with people." So that's what I did right on, it's called Orange Street in Ozona. It's a main street. And the address was 505, which stood for SOS of a ship. And we called it the Help House. And so people came there for donation Reiki and yoga. And that led to opening up a string of 4 other centers in a row down that road, which was clearing a ley line. And it led me at age like 25 to eye-opening experiences that I didn't really know how to digest. There was no teacher around me. It was all just kind of by the seat of my pants, like just being inspired and being creative and being helpful. I'm like, oh, well, let's open this next building and let's pour all the art supplies in there and let everybody do free art because there's an AA building next to it. And sure, the AA people can go and, get help. And so that string of experiences led me from, like I was saying, a little bit of interesting clearings from my past life, probably, that I was like, I just need to go back to traditional after the four centers. I'm not necessarily going to share exactly what happened, but it was very interesting, let's just say. I want to stay on this next vision I'm having is I went to go work with the children. That felt very easy, and like I could really connect with them, and not so much of a metaphysical way. I was a little bit, like I said, didn't have a teacher to show me what was being opened up at the root of my other timelines. So working with the children, I did cranial sacral therapy. And by working with the cranial sacral therapy of somato emotional release and talking to the body, we were taught to talk to body consciousness. And when I would be doing that, all of a sudden I would get nothing it would just stop happening. Talking, or the voice of body would stop, give me yeses and nos with body movements. And the soul started speaking. So that's what led me into all this work with the Akashic, is by working with children in families consciousness, and then starting to talk to more than the body, and realizing there was a lot more that wanted to start communicating. And what would happen with these kids, I would get sent children with the toughest cases from doctors and therapists. They needed someone to talk deep, not just, to the surface things that are going on in this lifetime. And so that started having just instant shifts for these children. And it led me into working with the Akash. Yeah.
So when we talk about the Akash, and I know a lot of people on this channel that are drawn here have either worked with the Akashic records or have heard about the Akashic records. And you've actually created an app to help guide people into that realm, that plane of existence. Can you go more into that, what that meant for you, and how do you utilize the Akash in what you're doing now?
So the Akash, meaning ether, meaning consciousness at large, big space of all information held, of all past, present, future, and dimension, frequency. And so that database of information that's sitting there, so everything has already happened. It brings us out of time into frequency and dimension. And it's more of, where are we able to line up in frequency? And a lot of times the density from other timelines or early childhood has a conception point in the Akash, meaning a very specific record that then trails into a fractal or fractured fractal of that beginning point, conception point, that's holding them like an anchor in density. And when you can find who, what, when, where, why, in speaking to the Akash, speaking to consciousness, it could be the body, it could be the inner child, it could be the soul, whatever wants to speak, really. It's like getting used to really trusting that there is a very divine aspect that wants to speak. Planet Venus may want to speak. Like, what wants to speak to share with that conception point of why the patterns happening in my life today, or what that I just experienced, what is this really connected to? What is behind the layer of the seemingly now moment? It's got that deep conception and anchor. And when you pull that anchor with just looking at it and saying, okay, who was connected? You can use yes and no questions so that you can get a really easy answer. Like, is my mother connected? No. Or is anybody connected? Yes. And then whittling out these answers using yes and no type questions, we find that who, what, when, where, why. Sometimes it could just be a what, or it could be a where. It doesn't have to be all 5 of those W's. And then we can sit with it in meditation and be like, okay, my hip just went out. It's connected to my mother of another timeline. And I'm seeing a pen, so you start to use that little bit of information that you whittle out with yes and no questions, and then trust the other. You had that talk with Kristen last, the clairs, the clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience, claircognizant, all those feelings, knowings, hearing, seeing. And with that information, then we can jump in frequency by having greater understanding or understanding of, oh, my hip went out because it's connected to this conception point of another timeline with my mother. And sometimes that just that one peering into the hall of records, the field of information, and finding that pebble, that anchor, can really undo so much denser frequency that was holding you down in a pattern, that all of a sudden, just that looking at one and maybe doing some forgiveness work, I find is a lot that happens. Compassion, just witnessing and not judging it, going, oh wow, that's what they were going through, then frees us up. And all of a sudden we rise like a hot air balloon by dropping that sandbag off the side of the basket. And it's like, wow, you can do a true quantum jump into a higher version of this now moment. So the app that we created with you actually helping, thank you very much, beautiful Carmela and crew here at the center, which was called Solterra, I'm pretty sure at that time, created this app of 23 lenses. Let me go back to the beginning point. 23 lenses of reality. And you could do this session on self and ask, like, is it my astral self that wants to communicate? Yes. Okay. You pick astral, and you can go on through the charts with the who, what, when, where, why, picking what details, either your eyes just may go to those details, or you can use the yes and no's, or we made an automatic button, which I was saying you can look at 23 lenses of reality connected to the intention I put was the best loving life that I could have with you in this now moment. And it says, lead consciousness that would want to communicate is our star self, our star being, and being a light beings, and being optimistic is on here. And it goes all the way through, even astrology. I just want to look at the planet. The sun is involved, right? The superpower is we become generators of light, of current, of all these amazing things when we realize that we are a light being and a star self. So yeah.
That makes so much sense, of course, as we're linking the Akash with astrology, because I use a different tool, which is the tool of astrology, and you use, and I find it interesting that you actually had to create a tool for yourself to be able to use the intricacies of the Akash and make it so accessible to others. Because I know sometimes when you're dealing with Akashic records that there's a whole protocol that you kind of have to go through to find coherence in the information. And I feel like the logos of astrology, at least this tool, attempted to do that through coherence, through the circle, through the, through aspects and knowing the different planetary energies. And so I really commend you for creating something that can be so accessible for others to be able to access that information quickly. Because I know sometimes it can be challenging to, okay, Akashic, what, how do I even start? So something as simple as an app, the technology, which in this world we're very much used to, right? Using apps and technology to help us with other things. So how beautiful that this is a technology created to help us get connected to our soul, to different aspects of ourselves in a very coherent way with a very specific intention, right? Asking a specific question. And going back to, how do you find this tool has helped you not only with your own practice, with your own self-healing, but what have you witnessed in others to be able to do since you've created this? And that's the first question. And then the next one is, how, if somebody's starting to work with their own Akashic records, right? Besides the app, is there any other tools or things that you can use real time? Like, say, because emergencies happen, right? Like, I have this thing going on right now. What can I do to access? Or I've got this pattern, or I've got this relationship that keeps coming up, or this. What can I do to shift it?
Yeah, so that what I've seen in others with first with myself is, even we were talking before we hopped on live, that I had a hip go out yesterday, just unexpectedly. And I was able to, when I got home, immediately start just pushing the automatic button, like, what's going on? And because everything is self and we are always projecting perfectly in front of us, it's a perfected avatar and experience here. It's always going to biofeedback and show us what's going on. So I wouldn't have to, I don't have to use the app, but by doing the app and it put an automatic button in, because I didn't want to, go through muscle testing. I just wanted a quick answer. Sure enough, I mean, it's usually pretty like glaring me in the face with at least 3 details out of those 23 that I'm like, oh, right. And then I can, okay, well, everything that is, please, let's go ahead and clear that up out of my hip, forgive it, and just give myself an opportunity, even with just one detail, to go ahead and use what I love to do. So my hand to my heart, take some deep breaths, ask for forgiveness, give forgiveness, and release those sandbags off the hot air balloon so I can rise back into the air where the soul loves to be, in all elements, but truly loves that air element, what I've experienced so far. And then coming back for others, same thing. I hear people tell me, yeah, I was so glad I could have that automatic button. Boy, did it really help me out. So that I find really great. I love that practitioners are using it for their sessions, for helping others. So it's pretty phenomenal, as well as for someone who's just really wanting to start to muscle test. It gives a nice, checklist for people to use, to keep notes while they're muscle testing, which can be, like you said, and I will concur that looking into the Akash can be a lot of details. And sometimes, this is a very complex reality I'm looking at. So it's like all that's biofeedbacking to me. If I didn't have the app, I would notice where my eyes go. I see a sign that says, please enter quietly. I see a plant, all these things are telling me the answer to my question always. And I love that about astrology, same thing, I have easy button astrology, that I'm able to like look at what's going on and push the little icon and, oh, okay, that's totally what's going on. So yeah, it's just powerful to have these tools. And like I said, if I didn't even have them, we are the most amazing technology. And just by having that good question or a yearning or a feeling, if we just take some deep breaths, I love to touch my thymus gland because it viscerally brings me back to 0 point and is centered, and it releases oxytocin. So it gets me a little bit more upbeat so that I can actually look at something that's maybe dark, and glean some light on it. So that inner questioning and taking deep breaths inside this amazing vessel, there's so much to gather, and it's such an amazing tool that we are. I'm every day get more and more blown away of what we really are. Yeah.
Thank you for that explanation. And, I love that you're redirecting that we do have the answers. If you have the question, you have to have the answer, because it's in this dual plane of existence, this polarity consciousness, one can't exist without the other. And what was coming through, for this conversation is because I'm going to transition a little bit into time. And so we talk about how the Akashic records really, in these realms, there is no time, right? Everything that's ever happened, that's happening, that will happen exists in these halls, these records that can be accessed in the now, right? If you take that time, take your breath, settle the mind. And I want to touch on a little bit how you've been experiencing time, because you, through the soul app, you mentioned the sun, right? Is part of this conversation. Well, right now the sun's in Scorpio. And the sun in Scorpio is all about the alchemist. It's about alchemizing and turning lead into gold, changing one substance into another. So just even us shining our lights and our voices is shining light on perhaps a realm that most people have not tuned into or weren't aware of, that you can go into no time. And we just had a time change, right? So everything happens as above, so below. what do you see time turning into, and where are we moving towards as we start working with these tools of the Akash, of our own inner gnosis? How do you see that translating into our reality as we're experiencing it in the now?
Yeah, the biggest thing I'm noticing is when we drop into presence, when we drop into a witness or presence, we come really focused on the now. If there is a biofeedback of projection of what's happening in front of you, that is, let's say, something that is transitioning or wanting to transition, and a lower version of an aspect of self, a situation, that just by being present, and like I said, getting viscerally, rising it up, smiling, and asking for, the highest and best possibility to arrive here now. Maybe it's also, this has happened a lot, maybe it's also like situational, or a person's involved, or another soul's involved, and you're watching them show you an aspect, and you're like, this is just not the highest version that I could experience with this person. By just being present in that now moment with a willingness to see them in the highest soul light that they are, I will watch a timeline collapse right in front of my eyes, and they'll go from nope, nope, yeah, and they just drop, stop, drop, and roll, or something like that. They rise up into their heart, like just by being present, and a knowing that I have the potential to bear witness to this soul arrival right here, right now. So that frequency shifts in them, because I'm allowing it, because I do have a part in this if they're in front of me, and I'm willing to see that soul that they are. All of a sudden, we drop into an instant upgraded timeline. And if it doesn't, I do my best to stay present and be just kind of wait it out, and be a witness, take some deep breaths, just let them get it out. I've seen a lot of that lately, where someone's just going to vent, and I'd hear, don't say a thing, don't, just sit there. Okay. And then, I had one of those was my father. He said, did you hang up on me? And I said, no, I'm just holding space. Are you done? If you're not, keep going. So that's one aspect what you asked, but that's what I see. I see time. It's funny because you and I, because the time was changing, and we're in different time zones, different non-location locations. It was like, to line up this call, my brain was like scrambled eggs. I mean, it was like, what is, I couldn't even like figure it out. And it's something I normally could so figure it out. I'm like, what is happening? And they're like, in spirits, like, you're in two different timelines. You two are going to literally collapse. The reason she helped you with your hip last night. And that's also on here. Clean the eggs, ovaries, plasma, feet, grounding point, large intestines, that we letting go of some stuff, and then transmuting and creating more energy from it. That time, the lower aspect of time that was not real, or was real, right? Everything's real if you believe it. But lower versions of time, which for my heart, that is not present, that's based on like a timeline, or I got to be somewhere at a certain time. Even like getting here, it's perfect. We're here. I knew in my heart that the soul that you are, if like something would happen, we'd be like, yeah, it's all good. Like that now moment meant that something else needed to happen. But those old versions where maybe a lower self would be like, oh, you're not on time, or, you got to be here 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, or looking at different versions of calendars that took us out of cycle or rhythm, like the Gregorian calendar that we're, playing with right now at a level. Those are not in alignment with presence, and they will drop away. I feel like it doesn't compute, just like a lot of other things that are going to happen will not compute with the soul that you are, that's present, that's pure love, that's abundant because it thinks, and so it is. So whatever you think you need, an apple will arrive. Like, That's just the way the highest realm is. So anything that's not in alignment with that, as we all start to naturally, it doesn't even take a lot of effort. It's just going to happen. We're already there at the highest version of ourselves. How could we not be there? It's us. Yeah.
And for those that are watching this talk, if you're still in the 9 to 5, that's okay. We're all transitioning out of this time frequency. And so eventually, I've heard this said, and I'm not sure, I don't know who quoted this, but I loved it. Those who control time control the mind. And it's interesting as an astrologer, because astrology is all about cycles and timing of cycles and things that, because there's patterns, right? Like mandalas and geometric shapes that I feel the ancestors who created astrology, who it's still very deeply unknown where the point of origin where astrology originates from, which is, now time moment, have pointed to just allowing us to see that there are cycles to things. There are that can transcend us out of these times, the wheel, the spoke, which is the spoken word, and actually get us out of these loops. But you have to know the cycle you're in, the geometry pattern, the matrix that you're in to be able to transcend it. And I feel like this is where the Akashic Records is so similar to astrology. And I feel like they're both tools to help you navigate getting out of that time frequency, that time and space where things got dense, where you created this karmic pattern with the other, which is all you. And you bound yourself, you looped yourself, you knotted yourself into that experience, and then being able to go to that point and then unloop, cut, however you choose to work with that frequency is so important, just to have the awareness that that's a possibility and that we don't have to wait anymore. The wait is the density, and that we can transcend and transmute a lot of these old patternings, these old matrices, these mandalas that maybe served us at one point in time, but now we have morphed and in the morphogenic field into something completely different. And we are continuing that morphogenic process, especially with Scorpio season, that's what it's pointing to, which I also find interesting. And you had mentioned the Gregorian calendar, because I also study Mayan astrology and the 13 moon, 28 day, every month month is 28 days. And there is a untalked about constellation that's coming up at the end of November. So Fucus, and it's actually the serpent bearer, and the serpent in this archetype is about healing. So I find it interesting that this constellation is not really talked about, because it is the archetype of the self-healer. It's the catechist, it's that mercurial, and the fact that that's been hidden as well, even in astrology, that most astrologers don't talk about that's coming back online, the time for us to regenerate, to self-regenerate, right? That snake energy, the serpent shedding its skin. As a collective, I feel like that's what we're all going through, is this process right now. So using the Akashic Records, using astrology, and I love that in your app, you also point to solutions. So it's not just about identifying the energies, but can you go into a little bit more of how the app also points to real time, what you can do in that now moment to shift if you don't know how to work with it? You're like, okay, now I know this is the story, but how do I transmute it?
And that's it. Yeah. And there's a couple points that I wanted to bring into that, is that yes, if you find yourself in time, if you find yourself anywhere, it's being present that is the gift that rises you to the highest opportunity of being there. And it's not about, running away from wherever you find yourself. It's about getting deeper down in it and showing up and being present, and you'll find everything you're looking for is right there. Even that 9 to 5 job is the gift. It's what you want to do the next now moment that you find yourself. You may leave it, you may stay and start, having more fun and dancing around and be more joyful. And the second thing that really came forward is, yes, even the astrology, all of it's time at a level in cycles, but it's also, where do I find myself in this now moment in that wheel? And if I can use that and then look at if I then go from that one point and then spread up into witness that I'm all of the points, that I'm all the cycles, I can start to go, whoa, yes, okay. How do I get more present and not way out in the 10th house or whatever it is that I'm, I'm at home, let's get in the 4th house. So every one of the details, all 23 lenses of the app has solutions in it. They're all mandalas of very common platforms, a foundation that was what I noticed, what you noticed as we were creating this. Everybody, what was naturally coming up as foundational points. We were working with essential oils, so we added the essential oils on there. There was psycho-emotional aspects to that we could tie in. Body parts, this map is a foundation. So all of them can be a solution if you just really look at it and say, what is that map of the body, or that map of these crystals like tourmaline? What does that even mean to me? What frequency? But the solution itself, there's two kind of solution aspects on the chart. Number 21 says cleanses. So it gives you some things, that possible cleanses that we were finding through the center at that time that would have been great to put on the app. On this one, it says cleanse ovaries. And then the solutions chart, which is the last one, it says a retreat. So, and it says garden, and it's got the stars, Markab. So finding out in what constellation Markab is in, which I love, but I'm going to talk about it in 1 second. So that's the solution. You could physically do a retreat. You could go on a short retreat in the garden. You could just put your hand and cleanse your ovaries with white light and see yourself on a retreat in your mind's eye, in your heart. We don't have to actually go take a retreat. But if you do something with that on one of those levels, that continuum of inner or an outward experience, I do find there's a big quantum jump that happens. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then I want to add about the stars though. There's this app, I'm pretty sure it's called, Star Walk 2. I don't know if you've seen this. And so in Star Walk 2, it's a 3-dimensional app. So it takes you, let me just pull one up, to the constellation. Oops. And then you can, Gemini, I'm tapping on. You can actually go 3D with it. So you can look at, it's not doing it for me right now, but you can tap on it and you can literally look all the way in a 360 degree around the constellation. So you can get yourself a better point of view, which I love. So I send that out to anybody. And I found that by looking up that star, what was it? Markab. Have you heard of that one?
Markab. Mm-hmm. I don't know the properties. I'm still deep diving into the star constellations, but yeah, it'll probably be there it'll give you the archetype in the story so that you can develop your own gnosis as to how that is relevant in our psycho-spiritual experience of what we're telling ourselves through the story. So yeah, I'll have to look that up.
So
Markab.
When looking at it and putting it in, it's in Pegasus. When putting it with whatever you're dealing with, I have started to get a download that it's like all the synapses that fire and wire together are like star points in the Akash or in the field, and like Markab, let's say, is right here. And I might just ask myself, where is Markab? And like, I might feel right there, I take my awareness there. And then for a time I was using that app and I would like look 3-dimensionally also at the app and then kind of take myself through there. And there would be like this burst of like whole brain activation through my brain by just doing that one little Akash pull of Markab right here. So I wanted to add that in because I think it's pretty cool.
Well, and there's a sect in astrology called astrophysiology. So that meaning if you're looking at the stars outside of you, there's actually something, there's a correspondence happening inside of you. So what I was receiving is you were talking about Pegasus. Pegasus is a horse.
Okay.
And I'm looking at Sagittarius, which is also half man, half horse. And Sagittarius rules the thighs and the hips of where you felt.
Mm,
So see how
yes.
it's all connected, and it depends on how you connect those points. And if you have the
Yes.
awareness that, again, and I love that you're bringing this back to, if you're looking outside of yourself and seeing and witnessing something, that means there is a correspondence happening within you. And it's almost like an investigative. This is Scorpio season, right? It's time to investigate and dive deep to see, okay, where in my cellular structure, it's actually, it might be in my bones, right? Saturn, we just talked about Saturn going into Pisces. Saturn rules our bones, things that are solid. And Pisces, of course, is the ocean, our spirituality, and being able to anchor in the spirituality through the physical correspondence of what's happening. So this is just an invitation to, through this type of conversation, to point to you are the star, you are the planets, you are everything, and everything resides within you. There's a correspondence to that. And whether you use the tool of astrology or the Akashic records through the app, it's all going to point you back to self. And the words that we use to describe this reality is so important. And I love that you're very precise when you're using the apps, because in this Scorpio season, I'm also, diving into how spells are spellings, right? Spellings or spells, and how we use the word to describe our experience is literally going to create matter, how it matters, how it comes into form for you. So just inviting in a new expression of possibly what you might be experiencing real time, those that are watching this, that feel out of sorts, out of balance, that are looking, that are seeking. Just know that the answers you're seeking are within you. And these are just tools and ways to navigate these experiences. And I really want to thank you, Elasa, for all the work that you've done. You've been on this journey for a long time now. You continue to evolve and to morph and to shapeshift. And I wanted to ask you, because I know time is a factor, right, in this realm right now. Is there anything that you wanted to leave the listeners with in relation to just what we spoke on today? Is there any summation you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, I feel that this is such a great time to practice being a witness and really allow yourself the opportunity to come into this new level of acceptance of what's exactly in front of you. And by being the witness and kind of allowing yourself and all others in the cast of characters to show up how they are and coming into acceptance, there's just going to be such an ease that will come over. I know it's come over me, but I feel will come over others as they practice that witness. And then when you have the moment of, maybe some quiet time, that then you can kind of go a little bit wider or a little bit more focused, whatever way you want to go with it, and focus in or get a bigger picture of what just happened if it left you puzzled, or. So I am grateful to be here, grateful to be here with you. We both have, I feel like, a whole new realm opening up, and I'm so excited to see where this next phase of existence leads us, all of us. Thank you so much, Carmela, for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your time and energy and space. And just to know that if it's hard for you to hold witness and you're triggered, go use the app.
Yeah.
Go look at your birth chart. Use the tools to go, okay, I can't just hold witness for I'm in it, I'm triggered. But the trigger is the chemical release in the body that's alchemy. So if you don't know, but you do know, and you're remembering that use the tools that are in front of you. Check out the Akashic Soul app. It's a beautiful tool. It's a beautiful practice to just get you inward more and more and more. Get your birth chart, study astrology. Again, these are languages, these are ways to navigate these inner realms in a whole new way, which will create a whole new alchemy. And so again, I thank you for your work and your service to humanity, and what you're doing and continue to doing is offering all these quantum tools and technologies. And please tell people how they can find you. Where's your shop, and what are your offerings there? What are you, besides the Akashic Soul app, what else are you bringing to
Yeah.
humanity?
Okay. So we welcome you to downtown Palm Harbor. The existing Solterra is now R3 Miracles, and R3 standing for relax, rejuvenation, and realization. So self-realization is key here. And utilizing these tools that, I mean, truly, we are the miracle. We produce miracles every now moment of our existence. It's all a miracle at a level. But when we're looking for, answers by using the tools we've talked about today, and then offering a space that has the latest technologies that are available that have been pulled out from, being unearthed with Nikola Tesla's gifts to humanity, Keshe Spaceship Foundation gift to humanity, Dan Winters and Paul Harris gives to humanity. There's so many amazing inventors and scientists through the ages that are being reborn again and again, including ourselves, that, by being an alchemist and within, and also using things that are going to help get the environment to feel as stellar as possible, mimicking basically nature. We're reverse engineering ourselves out of these buildings and making these buildings feel amazing first through our thoughts, by claiming that they're amazing. And if we can't, then utilizing some of these tools that were shared with us about energy, frequency, and vibration. So the center so far has zero gravity chairs, tensor rings, which brings about a scalar field around the chair, Bemer therapy mats that mimic the earth and move vibration through the body. The Theraphi Plasma MedBed is pretty powerful. Highly suggest coming to get your free session and experience that amazing. I just came off of it this morning. It's powerful. And we added a palladium, which is on the periodic table. It's what the astronaut suits are made of. Palladium blanket on the bottom of the table, on top, a couple days ago. And that's taken the table to a whole nother level. So wow. Just being open, and spirit is showing us all. I'm doing this with Kay Joy, my mother, and it's super exciting to be playing with her in this way, because she's always been one that had all the tools at her house consistently growing up, and to this day. So I had said to her, Mom, come on, let's jump back in and, share these tools that you're always finding. So that's what we're doing, and we're having fun. That's what I think we talked about at the very beginning. It's about having fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm seeing people here. And today we have Alicia Martinez starting a new class called Mindfulness Movement Meditation. She's going to be doing Qigong and guided meditation. So I'm really excited for that.
Well, thank you again for creating the space, creating the center for people to come and experience, have their own healing journeys using the technology. You're doing your Venus, which is an Aquarius, which I love, because Aquarius is all about technology and forward thinking and innovation. So I love that you're doing your Venus. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for watching and joining in this conversation. It has been such a joy and pleasure. It always is. And I would invite you to, in the next downtime moment, to come back onto the channel with more downloads and revelations as we start expanding and shape shifting into these new planes of existence. You are more than welcome to come back and share your gifts. And again, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for being here. Much love to you.
Thank you so much, Carmela. Have an amazing day, everybody. Okay.
You as well.